Lily lied about where she was. What else is she hiding? Was this planned?
The room was quiet, but my heart was anything but. My phone buzzed once, then again, and I felt a jolt of panic. It was a message from my mom. "Your daughter's missing. Come now." My eyes went wide. I froze. The last thing I expected to read in the middle of an important meeting was something like this. How could this happen? Was Lily okay? My mind raced, but I didn't have time to process the fear. I couldn't just sit here pretending everything was fine. I had to leave. I stood up abruptly, the room falling into silence around me. I didn't even look back. Before we continue, please hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on the notification bell for updates. I've always been the responsible one, the one who takes charge. But this felt like everything I thought I knew about my life was about to shatter. Lily, my daughter, my precious 7-year-old girl, was missing. My heart thudded in my chest as I rushed out of the office. I could hear my footsteps echoing in the hallway, but they felt far away, as if I was walking through a nightmare. I knew my mom, Janet. She was the kind of person who often overreacted. She'd call me in the middle of a workday for the smallest things, like missing her favorite TV show or losing a sock. But this was different. My heart hammered in my chest as I thought of my daughter, the little girl who meant everything to me. Was she okay? I grabbed my coat, dialing my mom's number as I rushed toward the elevator. "Mom," I said, trying to steady my voice. "What's going on? What do you mean she's missing?" But the phone clicked over to voicemail. My stomach sank. Why was she avoiding the call? What did she know that I didn't? By the time I was outside, I was already in the car, speeding through the streets. Each red light felt like an eternity. As I gripped the steering wheel, I glanced at my phone again. Nothing. No texts, no updates. I tried to call my sister Mia, but she didn't pick up either. Mia was a free spirit, always doing her own thing. She was supposed to be at my mom's with Lily. Was she the one who took her? Was this some kind of sick joke? I texted Mia. "Where's Lily?" The reply came almost instantly. "Don't worry, everything is fine." Everything is fine? How could everything be fine when my daughter was supposed to be missing? Was my mom exaggerating? Was Lily in trouble or just with Mia, maybe on some spontaneous trip they didn't tell me about? I was done with waiting. I needed to get answers. Just as I was about to pull into my mom's street, my phone buzzed again. This time, it was a post on social media from Mia. The picture made my heart stop. It was Lily, smiling, laughing, wearing a swimsuit, with the ocean in the background. She was at a beach resort. I slammed on the brakes, my car screeching as I tried to process what I was seeing. "Best trip ever," Mia had captioned it. What the hell was going on? Why hadn't anyone told me? Was this a joke, or was I about to lose my mind? I was barely able to catch my breath when I pulled up to my mom's house. It didn't feel real. The idea that I was rushing here because I'd been told my daughter was missing, only to find out she was at some beach resort in a photo posted by my sister. My pulse was still racing as I stepped out of the car, confusion battling with frustration. The front door of the house was wide open, and I could hear my mom's voice drifting from inside. It was unmistakably frantic, as if she were speaking to someone on the phone. The sound of a child laughing followed. Wait, a child laughing? I couldn't get there fast enough. I pushed through the door, the faint noise growing louder as I entered the kitchen. And there they were, my mom, sitting at the table with a cup of tea, talking casually with Mia, my younger sister. Mia was sitting back in her chair, giggling, while my daughter Lily, who was perfectly fine despite the message about her being missing, was sitting on the floor playing with her toys. I stood frozen in the doorway, completely disoriented. "Mom!" I shouted, my voice trembling. "What the hell is going on?" Janet didn't even flinch. She casually looked up from her cup of tea, giving me an almost bored expression. "Oh, Emma, you're here," she said, as if nothing were out of the ordinary. "You should have just come along with us to the beach." My chest tightened. "To the beach? You told me Lily was missing. What are you talking about?" Mia just smirked, completely unfazed. She leaned back in her chair, a mischievous glint in her eyes. "It's no big deal, Em. Chill out. We were just taking a little spontaneous trip. You know how Mom is always being dramatic." My hands balled into fists at my sides. This was unbelievable. The anxiety I had felt just minutes ago rushing through traffic, thinking the worst had happened to my daughter, all for nothing? For some spontaneous trip that they hadn't even bothered to tell me about? "Mia, I need answers now," I demanded, ignoring the ache in my chest. "Why didn't anyone tell me what was going on? Why was I called, thinking my daughter was missing, only to find out you've been at the beach this whole time?" Mia's eyes flicked toward my mom, who seemed to be deliberately avoiding eye contact with me. I felt a cold rush of betrayal. My mom had always been the one to encourage communication between us, but now it felt like she was keeping something from me. Mia, with her usual carefree attitude, shrugged. We didn't tell you because you'd overreact. We thought it would be better if we just let you be surprised. Plus, you know Mom. She freaked out, and I didn't want to stress you out. You've been so busy with work lately, we thought we'd just handle it ourselves. Handle it yourselves? I repeated, incredulity thick in my voice. You told me my daughter was missing and didn't think I'd want to know anything about it? And now, you're telling me you thought I'd overreact? I could feel my blood pressure rising. This was getting worse by the second. My heart had been pounding just minutes ago, the fear of losing Lily gnawing at my every thought. And now, they were sitting here, like it was just some fun family trip. Where's the logic in that, Mia? I continued, my voice now rising. What would have happened if I hadn't seen that post from you? Would you have just let me believe Lily was missing forever? Mia tried to interrupt, but I cut her off. I'm serious. Why didn't anyone tell me? It was a question I had to ask, but the longer I stood there, waiting for an answer, the more I realized how little they truly understood the gravity of what had just happened. There was no apology, no real explanation, and certainly no sign of regret. Just a shrug, like it was no big deal. In that moment, I felt more alone than I ever had. Lily was my world, she always had been. I couldn't even begin to describe the raw fear I felt when my mom's call came through. And yet, here I was, standing in front of these two people who were supposed to be on my side, completely dismissing my feelings. I couldn't help but think back to when I was younger. My mom had always been the one to handle things, making sure everything was perfect, that we followed all the rules. She'd been there for me during hard times, but there was always this unspoken expectation that I had to be perfect too. She'd made me the responsible one, and I'd always kept everything under control. But now, as I stood there, looking at my mom sipping tea like she hadn't just sent me into a panic, I realized that I was being played in a way I didn't understand. I loved my mom, but she had a way of making me feel like the bad guy, the one who couldn't handle things as easily as she could. She'd always been a little dramatic, but this time, she'd crossed a line. Mia, on the other hand, had always been the free spirit, the one who did what she wanted without any real thought for consequences. Growing up, we had a complicated relationship. She was the one who was always able to get away with things I couldn't. And even though I was older and I had more responsibility, Mia seemed to know how to get what she wanted without lifting a finger. She was the wild card in this family, and now it seemed like she was running the show. I'm done with this, I said through gritted teeth. This isn't how a family operates, and you're not going to gaslight me into thinking I'm the problem here. I was about to turn and leave, but then Mia's voice stopped me. You're not going anywhere yet, Emma, she said, her tone suddenly serious. I've got something else to tell you. I froze, my stomach sinking. What now? I couldn't take any more surprises. Mia stood up from the table and walked toward me, her face unreadable. It's not just the beach trip, Emma. There's more you need to know. I felt a chill run down my spine as Mia's words hung in the air. She'd just told me that there was more I needed to know. More? My mind raced, spinning with possible explanations, none of them good. What is it, Mia? I demanded, unable to keep the frustration out of my voice. I had come to this house with every intention of getting answers, of putting an end to the confusion. But now, it seemed like it was only just beginning. Mia stood there for a long moment, her eyes glinting with something I couldn't place. Finally, she sighed and spoke, her voice soft but firm. This whole thing, it wasn't just a spontaneous trip, Emma. It was planned. I stared at her, trying to understand. Planned? What are you talking about? You've been so caught up in your work and life that you haven't even noticed how much Mom and I have been doing for you. For Lily, she said, her words deliberately slow, as though she were trying to make me understand. We planned this trip so you could finally take a break, but when we told you, we knew you'd freak out. Fury flared in me. This was their plan? To get me away from my work for a family vacation? You put my daughter in danger, lied to me, for a vacation. Are you serious right now? I could feel my pulse in my ears, the heat of anger rising up my neck. But Mia didn't back down. She looked me dead in the eyes, her expression now cold, calculating. It wasn't about the trip, Emma. It was about you. We needed you to let go of control. You've been so obsessed with your work, so distant, that Lily, she needed her mother. We needed you to stop and be here. I was speechless. The audacity, the nerve, to use Lily as some kind of excuse to manipulate me into a situation where they could control everything, to hide from me what was really happening. It was like being trapped in a nightmare of their making. You used me, Mia. I finally managed, my voice cracking. You scared me out of my mind, made me think my daughter was missing. And for what? To teach me a lesson? Mia crossed her arms, her jaw tight. It's not a lesson, Em. It's just the reality. You don't see it. You're so wrapped up in your job, you forget what matters. You forget us, your family. We need you to be present, to stop pretending that your career is everything. I couldn't even look at her. The betrayal stung more than I cared to admit. But what hurt more was the fact that Mia was right. My work had become everything to me, and I had been so focused on my job that I had barely seen the cracks forming in my relationships. I couldn't deny that I had been distant. I couldn't deny that Lily needed me more than I'd been there for her. But Mia's words didn't make her actions any more acceptable. I looked over at my mom, who had been silent this entire time. Janet's eyes flickered between Mia and me, but she said nothing. She didn't even seem concerned. Instead, she took another sip of her tea, as if this entire confrontation was no big deal. Her lack of reaction only added fuel to my fire. You let this happen, Mom? I asked, my voice shaking. You let Mia manipulate me like this? Janet shrugged nonchalantly. She was just trying to get through to you, Emma. You've been so wrapped up in your world, it was the only way we could make you see what's important. I felt the weight of her words press on me, suffocating. It was as though she was excusing the emotional trauma Mia had caused. I was supposed to just understand that they were doing this for my own good, that they put my daughter in danger for a lesson. The anger in me boiled over. You think this is what Lily needs? A lesson on how to be a parent? You both are out of your minds. Mia's eyes narrowed. This is about more than just a vacation, Emma. We've been trying to get you to wake up for months. Your relationship with Lily, it's slipping away. I felt like I'd been punched in the gut. The room went quiet for a beat as I tried to process her words. Was this all really about my relationship with my daughter? I thought I was a good mom. I knew I was doing my best, but maybe they were right. The truth hung in the air, thick and suffocating. My focus had been on the wrong things. My career had consumed me, and in doing so, I had alienated the very people I loved most. My daughter, my mom, my sister, they all needed more of me, but I had been blind to their needs. Mia continued, her voice quieter now, but still cutting through the tension. You're not present for her, Emma. Lily feels it. She started to pull away from you, and it hurts her. My breath caught in my throat. Lily felt that. It hit me harder than I expected. Of course she did. She was only 7. But kids that young are perceptive. They know when their parents aren't fully there. My heart squeezed painfully in my chest. I had no idea, I whispered, my mind racing through all the moments I had missed. All the things I'd been too busy to notice. My stomach churned with guilt. Mia's voice softened. I'm sorry for how we went about this, but I wanted you to see that you can't keep living like this, Emma. Not just for your career, but for Lily. She's not going to wait around forever. It was like a light bulb went off. I finally saw the bigger picture. My career, my ambitions, they had come at the expense of everything else. I'd been so focused on building my future that I hadn't realized I was sacrificing the present. Lily's childhood was slipping away, and I was too late to notice. But I wasn't ready to accept Mia's manipulation just yet. There had to be a better way to fix this without the games, without the lies. I couldn't just let her or my mom dictate how I would become the mother Lily needed me to be. What do you expect me to do now? I asked, my voice trembling with emotion. Should I just throw everything away for Lily? Should I quit my job? I can't just drop everything, Mia. Mia didn't answer immediately. She looked at me with an intensity I wasn't used to seeing. No, but you need to learn how to balance it, how to be present, how to give Lily the attention she deserves. If you don't, I'm afraid it's going to be too late. The words hit like a slap. I thought I was being a good mom. I thought I was doing everything right, but Mia had seen through me, and now I had to figure out how to fix it. I looked over at my daughter, still playing on the floor. She was so innocent, so unaware of the chaos brewing around her. My heart twisted at the thought that I had neglected her needs for so long. But before I could say anything else, my phone buzzed again. Another text from my mom. I opened it, expecting to see some irrelevant message about the trip or a reminder to calm down. But when I saw what it said, my blood ran cold. Emma, come home now. There's something you need to see. It's about Lily. I stared at the screen, my fingers trembling. What else was going on? What did my mom mean by that? I didn't know if I was ready for whatever the next chapter of this nightmare was going to bring. The moment I read my mom's text, the knot in my stomach tightened. What did she mean? It's about Lily? I looked around the room, my mind racing with possibilities. Was something else wrong? Had she been hurt? Had I missed something important while I was caught up in this mess with Mia? I glanced over at Lily, who was still playing with her toys on the floor, completely unaware of the storm brewing around her. I couldn't let my fears spiral out of control, but the panic I felt was real. It was as if the universe was throwing every possible test at me at once. I looked back at Mia and Janet. I need to go, I said, voice tight. I don't know what this is about, but I have to see what Mom's talking about. Before Mia could say anything, I turned and marched to the door. But as I reached for the handle, I hesitated. Was I being reckless? Was I about to fall into another trap? No. I had to know the truth. I couldn't stand this uncertainty any longer. With that thought, I pushed the door open and stepped out, my heart pounding. The drive back to my mom's house was a blur. Each red light felt like an eternity. My hands gripped the steering wheel so tightly, I thought my fingers might cramp. I couldn't stop thinking about the text. It's about Lily. Was she okay? Was she in danger again? I pushed the questions aside as best I could, but I couldn't shake the sense that something was terribly wrong. My mind kept going back to Mia's words. You've been so caught up in your work that Lily, she needs you. What if Mia had been right all along? What if I'd been so focused on climbing the corporate ladder that I hadn't seen my daughter's emotional needs slipping through my fingers? Was I really that blind? I couldn't deny that the last few months, maybe even longer, had been a blur of deadlines, meetings, and business trips. As I turned into my mom's driveway, the tension was almost unbearable. The house was quiet, too quiet. I couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right, and it made my heart race faster. I stepped out of the car and walked to the front door, each step heavy with dread. I wasn't sure what to expect, but I didn't think it would be good. My mom's expression when I had left earlier, that calmness, almost a lack of urgency, still lingered in my mind. It was like she was so detached from everything happening, as though nothing really mattered. I rang the doorbell and waited, my thoughts spiraling. When the door opened, it wasn't my mom who greeted me, but my sister, Mia. Her face was pale, her eyes wide with something like nervous energy. Emma, she said, stepping aside to let me in. There's something you need to see. Mom's inside. I followed her into the living room, my heart pounding with each step. There, sitting on the couch, was Janet. But this time, her demeanor was different. She wasn't drinking tea, she wasn't relaxed. She was visibly shaken. I took a deep breath, trying to steady myself. What's going on? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Mom looked up at me, her face tight with worry. It's about Lily, she said slowly, her voice quivering slightly. She's been acting strange lately. My stomach dropped and I felt the blood drain from my face. What do you mean, strange? I demanded. What's going on with her? Mia stepped forward, her expression serious now. Lily's been talking about things that don't make sense. She's been distant, saying she doesn't want to be at home anymore, saying she wants to stay at the beach. I was stunned. My mind couldn't fully grasp what Mia was saying. What are you talking about? She's just a kid. What do you mean, distant? Mia exchanged a look with my mom before speaking again. Mom and I have been trying to get through to her, but it's like she's closed off to us, to everyone. She's not her usual self, Em. We don't know what's going on, but it's like Her voice trailed off as though she couldn't quite find the words. I took a step back, processing the words that had just hit me. Was it possible that all the time I'd spent working had actually hurt my relationship with Lily more than I'd realized? Had I been neglecting her needs? Her emotional well-being? I felt sick. I hadn't seen the signs. My mind flashed back to moments where I had been distant when Lily wanted to talk and I was too busy. When she wanted to play and I said, "Later, sweetie." I'm busy. Was that what had caused this? Was this why she had started withdrawing from me? Mom's voice broke through my thoughts. We tried to talk to her, Em. We really did. But Lily's been distant. She's been talking about running away, and we don't know how to help her. The silence that followed was deafening. I felt the weight of my failure settle over me like a thick fog. How could I have let things get this far? Why hadn't I noticed Lily slipping away? How had I not seen that my work obsession was hurting my daughter? I turned toward Mia, who was watching me closely. Do you think this has to do with me? I asked, my voice trembling. Mia hesitated for a moment before nodding. I think it's part of it, Em. You've been so focused on work, and Lily's been feeling like she doesn't matter. We've tried to get her to open up, but every time we do, it's like she's somewhere else. My mind raced, trying to piece everything together. This wasn't just about a family vacation or a simple misunderstanding anymore. My daughter was struggling, and I had been too wrapped up in my own life to notice. Just then, I heard a soft voice from the hallway. "Mama?" Lily was standing at the top of the stairs, her small figure bathed in the soft glow of the hallway light. She looked so vulnerable, so small, and my heart broke in an instant. Her wide eyes locked onto mine, and I felt the weight of everything we'd been through crash over me. I rushed toward her, kneeling down to her level. "Sweetie, what's wrong?" My voice cracked, thick with emotion. "What's been going on?" Lily hesitated for a moment before walking into my arms. I held her tightly, not wanting to let go, terrified of what this might mean. She buried her face in my shoulder, her little body shaking. "I don't want to go back to the beach, Mama," she whispered, barely audible. "I just want to be with you." In that moment, everything clicked into place. I had been so focused on everything else, my career, my responsibilities, that I hadn't seen that Lily needed me. She needed me, not just physically present, but emotionally there, listening, supporting, and loving her. The guilt that had been building inside me exploded in that moment. How had I let things get this bad? My daughter was crying, asking for me, and all I could think about was how I had failed her. But as I stood up, cradling Lily in my arms, my phone buzzed again. It was a text from my work. I hesitated. The pull of my career was always there, even in moments like this, where I needed to be with Lily. The text seemed urgent, important, just like every other demand that had piled up in my life. But something told me that this moment, right here, with my daughter, was the most important thing in the world. I glanced down at Lily, her face tear-streaked but peaceful in my arms. And then I looked at the message. "We need your immediate response on the Johnson account. This could make or break your promotion." The choice was clear, yet terrifying. What would I choose? I stood there, my phone clutched tightly in my hand, the message from work burning a hole in my mind. The Johnson account. It was the opportunity I'd been waiting for. The promotion I'd worked so hard for. But as I looked down at my daughter, still nestled in my arms, her small body trembling with silent sobs, everything else in my world felt insignificant. My mind was spinning, the weight of the decision pressing down on me like a 100-pound stone. I could feel the pull of work, the temptation to respond, to prove myself. But then I looked at Lily again, her tear-streaked face pressed against me, needing me more than anything else. For the first time in what felt like forever, I made the decision without hesitation. I put the phone down and turned it face down on the table. No response, no email, no text, not right now. Lily was the most important thing in the world to me, and I had lost sight of that. I hugged her tighter, my mind now focused entirely on her. "It's okay, sweetie," I whispered. "You're safe. I'm here, and I'm not going anywhere." I could feel the knot in my chest loosening slightly, but it wasn't enough. The guilt lingered, clawing at me, reminding me of all the moments I had missed. All the times Lily had needed me, and I had been too distracted by work to notice. But there was no going back. The past was already behind me. The only thing I could do now was move forward, and that meant being the mother Lily deserved. The one who showed up not just physically, but emotionally. I stood up with Lily still in my arms and walked toward the living room, where Mia and my mom were sitting quietly. The atmosphere was tense, and I could see the concern in their eyes as they watched me. My mom opened her mouth to speak, but I didn't give her the chance. "I'm done with all of this," I said, my voice firm, but not without emotion. "I'm done putting my career above everything else. I'm done being the person who is always too busy. From now on, I'm going to be present for Lily, for this family." My voice shook, but I meant every word. It wasn't going to be easy. I knew that. The pressure of work, the expectations, it was all still there, but I couldn't let it control me any longer. I had been living my life in autopilot, chasing an ideal that didn't matter in the grand scheme of things. I had the power to choose my priorities, and I was choosing Lily. As I sat on the couch, holding Lily close, the flood of emotions hit me all at once. Guilt, relief, regret, but also something new, hope. I didn't have all the answers, but I finally understood what was truly important. My career could wait, promotions could wait, but my daughter, my relationship with her that couldn't wait. I had been so focused on achieving success, building a future, that I had forgotten to live in the present, to savor the small moments, to listen when my daughter needed me, to be there when she called for me. Lily clung to me as if she knew everything that had transpired, and for the first time in a long time, I felt connected to her in a way I hadn't before. She wasn't just a child I had to take care of. She was a little person, with thoughts and feelings that needed to be acknowledged. "I'm sorry, Lily," I whispered, kissing the top of her head. "I've made mistakes, but I promise you, from now on, I will be here. I'll be the mom you deserve, always." Tears filled my eyes as I spoke. For so long, I had carried the weight of guilt, of feeling like I wasn't enough. But in that moment, as I held my daughter, I realized that I was enough. I didn't need to be perfect. I just needed to be present. And that was something I could do. The change didn't happen overnight. The world didn't stop spinning. The emails still piled up, and the work didn't slow down. But I made a choice. I started setting boundaries. I began taking time off when I needed to. I started being honest with my boss, explaining that I couldn't be available 24/7 anymore. I took steps to ensure that work didn't consume me the way it had before. And slowly, things began to change. Lily and I grew closer. I noticed the small things, the way her eyes lit up when I asked about her day, the way she started talking to me more, sharing her thoughts, her worries. She didn't seem distant anymore, she seemed whole, and I knew that I was finally being the mom she needed. Mia and I also began to rebuild our relationship. At first, there was still tension. I resented how she'd manipulated me, how she'd played on my fears. But I also knew that she had done it out of a desire to help, however misguided her methods had been. We talked more openly, and I started to understand her perspective better. She wasn't trying to hurt me. She was just trying to wake me up. Mom and I had a few hard conversations as well. I confronted her about the way she had allowed Mia's manipulation to unfold. We talked about how her actions had affected me. It wasn't easy, but we came to an understanding. My mom had always been the center of our family, the one who called the shots. But now, I needed to take control of my own life, my own family. And she respected that. We were all learning how to find balance, how to support each other without crossing boundaries or manipulating one another. It was a process, and there were still bumps along the way, but we were getting there. The biggest consequence of all, though, was how Lily and I thrived together. I wasn't just her mother anymore, I was her partner, her confidant. We learned how to communicate, how to express our feelings without fear or shame, and that was priceless. One afternoon, about a month after everything had settled, Lily and I were sitting together in the living room, coloring pictures. It was a simple moment, but one that felt profound. She looked up at me and smiled, a real, genuine smile that made my heart swell. "Mama, I love you," she said, her voice full of warmth. I smiled back, tears pricking at my eyes. "I love you too, sweetie, more than anything in the world." And in that moment, I knew that I had made the right decision. I was exactly where I was supposed to be. No job, no promotion, no deadline could ever replace the connection I now had with my daughter. We had a future ahead of us, one that wasn't dictated by external pressures, but by the love and support we shared as a family. The chaos, the guilt, the confusion, it was all behind us now. What mattered was here. What mattered was us. And that, more than anything, was enough. The early morning sunlight streamed through the kitchen window as Emma sipped her coffee, watching Lily pour syrup over her pancakes. There was a soft peace in the air now, something Emma hadn't felt in a long time. It was still a little hard to believe how much had changed in such a short time. Work still called her name, the emails still piled up, but the priority had shifted. Lily looked up at her mom, smiling. "You're gonna be at my school play tonight, right?" Emma felt a tug in her chest. "Of course, sweetie. I wouldn't miss it for the world." For the first time in ages, Emma felt like she was exactly where she was supposed to be. After the tumultuous weeks of confronting her fears and guilt, Emma had made some bold changes in her life. She had stopped letting work dominate her existence. Her boss had reluctantly agreed to allow her a more flexible schedule, and she was now part of a small team where her presence mattered more than her constant availability. For the first time in years, she wasn't tethered to her desk after hours, and it felt freeing. Lily, on the other hand, seemed like a different child. Where before she had been distant and withdrawn, now she was laughing more, asking Emma to join in her activities, and most importantly, telling her about her day without hesitation. Their bond was growing, and every moment felt like a small victory. Emma had been trying to make up for the time she had lost, but there were still times when guilt crept in, especially in quiet moments like these. Lily sat beside her, showing off a drawing of a sun with a smiley face and two stick figures holding hands. "This is me and you, Mom," Lily said, her eyes sparkling. Emma smiled and kissed her forehead. "I love it, sweetie. It's perfect." But Emma knew the road ahead wouldn't be easy. Work was always just a step behind, waiting to grab her attention again. And every day felt like a choice between giving her all to her family or meeting the demands of her professional life. A few weeks passed, and Emma was starting to find her rhythm. She took Lily to the park on weekends, read books with her every night, and was there for the little things that had once slipped by unnoticed. But her job was starting to demand more time again. She'd been called in for a special project, a last-minute crisis that needed immediate attention. Her manager was pushing her to take on more responsibility, and the pressure was mounting. One evening, she sat at the kitchen table, her laptop open in front of her, the glow of the screen lighting her face. Lily was in the living room practicing for her school play. Emma tried to focus on the report in front of her, but her mind kept drifting to the fact that Lily needed her. A message popped up from her manager. "We need your presentation for the client meeting tomorrow morning. Please have it ready." Emma's heart sank. She had been so focused on Lily's play, on making sure she would be there for every little milestone, that she had almost forgotten the constant pressure from work. She glanced at Lily, who was reciting her lines quietly to herself. Emma wanted to be there for her. She needed to be. But the responsibility at work? It felt like she was being pulled in two different directions. The next few days felt like a blur. Emma stayed up late working on the presentation and had to leave early the next morning for a conference call with the client. She missed the first rehearsal of the play and barely had time to check in with Lily before the performance. It was a subtle reminder of how hard it was to change old habits. Despite the shifts she'd made in her priorities, the demands of work still loomed large. But there was a turning point during the week. On Thursday, after another late night working, Emma came home to find Lily waiting at the door with a big smile. "Mom, I have a surprise for you." Emma smiled weakly, still exhausted. "What's the surprise, sweetie?" Lily grabbed her hand and pulled her toward the living room. On the table was a drawing of a big stage with two figures standing on it. "This is the play, Mom. You're in it with me. You're the most important person in the show." Emma felt her heart swell, but guilt rushed through her at the same time. "I'm so sorry. I've been so busy, and I didn't see you practice last night. I'll be there, I promise." "I know how important this is to you." Lily nodded, her eyes filled with love. "I know, Mom. You've been working hard, but I want you there, no matter what." The words hit Emma like a ton of bricks. Lily wasn't asking for perfection, she just wanted her mom to be there, to be present. And that's when Emma realized that the balance wasn't about being perfect at everything, it was about being intentional. She didn't have to throw herself into every task at work or every moment with Lily, but she had to make the moments she did have count. The day of the play arrived. Emma was once again faced with a choice. Her project at work had come to a head, and her manager needed her to attend an important meeting that was scheduled during the evening of Lily's play. The pressure built up in her chest as she sat at her desk staring at the email. Her phone buzzed with a message from Mia. "Lily is so excited. You better be there. Don't let work ruin this moment." Emma took a deep breath, feeling the weight of everything pressing down on her. For the first time in a long time, she made the decision without hesitation. She closed the laptop, turned off her phone, and walked to the front door. She wasn't going to miss this. Not for work, not for anything. Lily needed her, and she was finally going to be there, not just physically, but emotionally, fully present. The play was everything Lily had hoped for. Emma sat in the front row watching her daughter shine on stage. It wasn't a perfect performance, but it didn't need to be. As Lily recited her lines, Emma couldn't help but feel an overwhelming sense of pride. This was the moment. The moment where Emma knew she had made the right choice, not just for herself, but for her daughter. After the play, Lily ran to her mom, her face glowing. "You came. You really came." Emma hugged her tightly, her eyes welling with tears. "I wouldn't miss it for the world, Lily. I love you so much." In that moment, Emma realized that this was the kind of success she had been searching for all along. Not the promotions or the accolades at work. It was this. It was the love, the moments with her daughter, that mattered more than anything else. As she walked out of the auditorium with Lily, hand in hand, Emma knew this was just the beginning of a new chapter. She didn't have to sacrifice her career to be a good mom, but she did have to be intentional about where she placed her time and energy. She had found the balance, and it felt like freedom. It was a Sunday morning, a year after the school play, and Emma was sitting on the porch watching the sunrise as Lily played in the yard with her new dog, Bailey. Time had moved on, but the lessons Emma had learned about work, family, and balance were still fresh in her mind. She had kept her promise to be more present, to be the mom Lily needed, but she knew the journey wasn't over. Life, after all, wasn't a simple checklist of tasks. It was a delicate balance that needed constant attention. Lily ran over to her, her face beaming. "Mom, Bailey just learned how to fetch. Watch this." Emma smiled, her heart swelling with pride. She had come so far, but even in these small, everyday moments, she felt the depth of her connection with Lily. But just as she was about to answer, her phone buzzed in her pocket. Her stomach clenched instinctively. It was from her boss. She took a deep breath and glanced at Lily, who was still caught up in her excitement. Emma quickly turned her phone face down and decided to let it go. Today was Lily's day, not work's. Today, she was going to be here, completely and entirely. But she couldn't ignore the thought that nagged at her, would there be a time when her balance would be tested again? As the months passed, Emma's relationship with Lily continued to grow. They had created new routines, mornings filled with laughter over breakfast, quiet evenings with bedtime stories, and weekend trips to the beach. Emma had found ways to incorporate her work into a more manageable schedule, and though there were days when the temptation to overwork still loomed, she knew that her family had to come first. Lily, now 9, had blossomed into a bright and inquisitive child. Emma could see the changes in her, the confidence she had gained in knowing that her mom was truly there. They talked more openly about their feelings, fears, and dreams, and Lily began to trust Emma with everything that was going on in her world. However, the years ahead wouldn't be without their challenges. Lily was starting to enter a new phase of life, pre-teen years, where the questions about friends, school, and identity would become more complicated. Emma knew that this was a time when she would need to adjust her approach to be even more aware of the shifts in her daughter's world. One evening, as they were having dinner, Lily dropped a quiet bombshell. "Mom, can I go to sleepover camp this summer?" Emma paused, her fork halfway to her mouth. "Sleepover camp?" she repeated. "What's that, sweetie?" "It's a camp where you stay for a whole week. My friends from school are going, and they said it's really fun. We'll do arts and crafts, swimming, and canoeing. I really want to go." Emma felt a wave of panic. The thought of being away from her daughter for an entire week, so much had changed in the past few years, and the idea of being apart for so long made her feel a little unsettled. The fear of missing out, of not being there for her, resurfaced, even though she had promised herself that she would be a more involved, more present mom. But Lily was growing up. She was starting to experience the world on her own, outside of Emma's protective gaze. Emma smiled softly, pushing the rising panic aside. "You know, honey, I think that sounds like a wonderful idea," Emma said, her voice steady. "It's a big step, but you're getting so grown up. I'm really proud of you for wanting to do something like that. You'll have so much fun." Lily's face lit up, and Emma felt her heart swell with both pride and a touch of bittersweetness. This was what growth looked like. Her daughter was starting to find her own way in the world, and Emma had to let her go, even if just a little bit. As Lily entered the 4th grade, Emma noticed subtle shifts in their relationship. Lily began to spend more time with her friends, chatting about school drama, her new favorite books, and the ever-evolving world of childhood relationships. Emma could see the start of her daughter's independence. She no longer wanted to be with her mom every waking moment, and at first, that stung more than Emma cared to admit. One afternoon, Lily came home from school with a piece of paper clutched in her hand. "Mom, I got invited to Emily's birthday party. It's going to be at the trampoline park," she said, looking up at Emma with wide eyes. Emma felt a sudden pang in her chest. Another milestone, another moment where I wouldn't be the center of her world. But she smiled. "That sounds like so much fun, sweetie. I'm sure Emily will be so excited to have you there." As Lily got older, Emma was starting to realize that her role as a parent was shifting. She wasn't just there to provide love and safety anymore. She was now also a guide. Lily needed to learn how to navigate the world outside their family bubble. This new phase was exciting, but it was also filled with new challenges. The older Lily got, the more Emma had to step back and let her make her own decisions, even when it was hard to do. Around the same time, Emma's work life was shifting again. A new opportunity had presented itself, an even bigger role, with more responsibilities and potential for growth. It was the kind of opportunity that Emma had worked so hard for. But as she sat in the meeting with her manager, her mind wandered back to the same question that had haunted her for years. Could she balance this with being the kind of mom Lily needed? Her boss was enthusiastic. "Emma, this could be a huge next step for you. We've got a major project lined up, and we want you to take the lead." Emma took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the decision on her shoulders. She thought of Lily, who was at school right now, having her own adventures. Was she still the mom Lily needed her to be? Would this job take away more time from their relationship? Could she manage it? The temptation to push herself was strong. This was a chance to prove herself, to finally break through the glass ceiling she'd been hitting for years. But the reality was that the demands of this new role would require even more time and sacrifice. "Thank you for the opportunity," Emma said, her voice calm but resolute. "I'll need to think it over carefully. Family is my priority, and I need to make sure I can still be the mom I want to be while also taking on new challenges at work." Her boss nodded, understanding her concerns. "Of course. Take your time to decide." Emma left the meeting feeling conflicted. She had grown so much since her old work-obsessed days. But now, she had to weigh whether she was ready to take on this new challenge and risk shifting the balance she had worked so hard to maintain. That evening, as Emma sat with Lily, who was snuggled up with her in their favorite reading spot, Emma reflected on how far they had come. She thought about the early days when work had been all-consuming, when she had been lost in a cycle of emails and missed family moments. And she thought about where they were now, closer than ever, but still navigating the tricky waters of growing up. Lily looked up at her, her voice small but hopeful. "Mom, do you think I'll still need you when I'm in high school?" Emma smiled softly and brushed a stray lock of hair from Lily's face. "You'll always need me, sweetie, but I think when you're in high school, you'll need me in a different way. You'll be making your own decisions, discovering more about who you are, but I'll be here no matter what." Lily nodded, content, as Emma hugged her tight. The journey of motherhood was far from over. Emma knew there would always be moments when she had to make hard choices, when work would demand more of her time, when Lily would need space to grow. But she also knew that she was in a place now where she could find balance. She had learned the hard way that being present wasn't about perfect timing, it was about intention, love, and showing up when it mattered most. As she looked out the window, watching the sun set over the horizon, Emma knew that whatever challenges lay ahead, she was ready. She was no longer defined by her work. She was defined by the love and connection she shared with her daughter. And that was enough. "Mom, I think I'm going to fail my math test," Lily said, slumping onto the couch. Her voice was thick with frustration, the weight of the world on her shoulders at just 14 years old. Emma looked up from her phone, her eyes softening as she saw the familiar signs of her daughter starting to struggle with something deeper. For a brief moment, Emma saw a glimpse of the little girl who used to rush to her for every problem, big or small. But now, Lily was beginning to pull away, navigating her own battles, her own world. It was a transition Emma had known was coming, but now that it was here, she wasn't sure if she was prepared. Emma set her phone aside and crossed the room to sit beside her daughter. "You're not going to fail, sweetie. Let's talk about it. What's going on?" Lily sighed, hugging her knees to her chest. "I don't know. I just don't get it anymore. I used to be good at math, but now I'm behind, and it feels like I can't catch up." Emma felt a pang in her heart. It wasn't the math test that bothered her. It was the fact that Lily wasn't opening up the way she used to. She wanted to help, but there was this invisible wall that was growing between them. It was a wall that came with adolescence, a phase Emma had always feared. "Okay," Emma said softly, her voice steady. "We'll work through this. Let's talk to your teacher, get a tutor, we'll break it down step by step." Lily didn't respond right away. Instead, she pulled her knees closer and looked away. Emma could see it in her eyes, the growing distance, the independence, and it scared her. The last few years had been filled with milestones. Lily had entered high school, made new friends, joined new clubs. The changes were subtle at first, but Emma could feel them in the air. It wasn't the same anymore. Lily wasn't the little girl who would sit in her lap for hours, asking questions about life. Now Lily was becoming someone she didn't entirely recognize, a teenager with her own opinions, her own struggles, and a desire for privacy. Emma had spent years learning how to balance work and family, but nothing could have prepared her for this. The distance between her and Lily was growing, and with it came the fear of losing the bond they once shared. Her role as a mother was shifting once again, this time into a more difficult phase one, that required her to let go but also be there in ways she had never been before. There were days when Lily wouldn't even talk to Emma. She would stay in her room for hours, immersed in her phone or a book, leaving Emma with a familiar sense of helplessness. Emma had always prided herself on being there for Lily, but now, the lines between mother and daughter seemed blurred. What was the right amount of involvement? How could she help without suffocating her? One weekend, Emma tried to do something special for Lily. She suggested they spend the afternoon baking cookies together, something they used to do often when Lily was younger. Emma thought it would be a good way to reconnect, but when she approached Lily with the idea, she was met with a flat, "I'm busy." At first, Emma brushed it off. "Busy with what?" she asked, half joking. "Your phone?" But Lily's eyes darkened. "It's none of your business, Mom," she muttered, her voice laced with annoyance. Emma's stomach twisted. None of your business. It wasn't just the words. It was the tone, the way Lily was starting to build emotional walls she hadn't seen before. Emma had to admit, it hurt. She wasn't used to being dismissed like that. She felt helpless, unsure of how to respond. The next day, Lily left for a sleepover, and Emma sat in the silence of the house, the absence of her daughter almost too heavy to bear. She missed their old relationship, the easy conversations, the way they had been each other's everything. But now, Emma felt as though she was losing grip on the one thing that had always been her anchor. That evening, as Emma was cleaning the kitchen, she heard Lily's voice through the door, muffled. She didn't mean to eavesdrop, but the conversation wasn't exactly quiet. "I don't want her to know. She's gonna overreact again. She'll just tell me it's not a big deal, and I'll just get more frustrated." Emma's heart dropped. Who was she talking to? The words stung. She'll overreact again. Was that how Lily saw her now? As someone who didn't understand? Who didn't get her? The door creaked, and Lily stepped out, a mix of guilt and frustration on her face. "I was just talking to Mia. I'm fine, Mom. Really." Emma tried to hide the hurt in her eyes. "Who are you talking about? What's going on?" Lily hesitated, then shook her head. "It's nothing, just school stuff. Don't worry about it." But Emma couldn't shake the feeling that something deeper was happening. Something Lily wasn't telling her. The walls between them were getting thicker, and Emma wasn't sure how to break them down without forcing her way in. A few days later, Emma met Mia for coffee. They had always shared a close relationship, but lately Emma had felt more isolated. Mia noticed her tension almost immediately. "How's everything going with Lily?" Mia asked, stirring her coffee slowly. Emma sighed, her fingers tracing the rim of her cup. "It's different. She's not the same. I'm not sure what happened. She won't talk to me like she used to. And now she's shutting me out." Mia raised an eyebrow. "She's a teenager, Em. It's normal for them to pull away a little. You're going to have to find a new way to connect. It's tough, but it doesn't mean she doesn't need you." Emma's heart sank at the thought. "I don't know how to do that. I feel like I've tried everything. Family dinners, helping her with school, doing things together. But she keeps pulling away. I can't be the mom I used to be for her." Mia's expression softened. "It's not about being the same mom, Em. It's about being the right mom for the phase she's in now. She needs space to figure herself out, and you need to give it to her, but she's still your daughter. You've taught her everything she needs to succeed. Now, it's about being there without smothering her." Emma took a deep breath, reflecting on her sister's words. It was true. This wasn't about losing Lily. It was about adjusting. Teenagers were different, and so was motherhood. The question wasn't whether she could remain connected to Lily, it was whether she could let go enough to allow Lily to come back when she was ready. The next week, Emma took a step back. She gave Lily space to breathe, to figure things out on her own. Instead of hovering, Emma trusted that she had raised Lily well enough to navigate these tricky years. But she didn't disappear entirely. She found new ways to connect, slowly and carefully. One evening, when Lily came home from school, Emma asked her casually if she wanted to go for a walk. To her surprise, Lily agreed, and they walked around the neighborhood, the cool air of early fall making it feel like a fresh start. It was a simple gesture, but it felt like the beginning of something new. As they walked, they talked nothing monumental, just little things like how school was going or how Lily's friends were doing. Emma didn't push. She just listened, offering advice when asked, but mostly just letting Lily take the lead. At the end of the walk, Lily surprised her. "Thanks, Mom," she said quietly. "I've been kind of off lately, but I'm okay, really." Emma smiled, her heart swelling. She's still there, she thought. We're still okay. "Mom, I think I'm going to start driving next month," Lily said one evening, her voice full of determination. Emma froze, her fork halfway to her mouth. Driving already? It seemed like just yesterday that Lily was in the backseat of the car, asking a million questions about the world. Now, she was ready to take the wheel herself. It was another milestone Emma had been dreading, but there was no way to avoid it. Time was moving faster than she could catch up. "I think I'll be fine, Mom. I'm pretty responsible," Lily continued, her gaze unwavering. She was already taking driver's ed, preparing herself for the next big step into adulthood. But Emma felt the sudden weight of what was happening. Her baby was growing up, and she was no longer the one holding the reins. Emma set her fork down. suddenly aware of the churning emotions inside her. It's hard to believe you're old enough. It feels like yesterday that I was teaching you how to ride a bike. Lily smiled, a little awkwardly. I know, Mom, it's weird, but I'm excited, and I know you'll be there to help me, right? Emma's heart softened, the fear easing for a moment. She had feared this day for years, when Lily would no longer need her constant presence, when the driving lessons and mother-daughter time would shift to more independent milestones. But this was the moment. It wasn't about keeping Lily in a bubble anymore. It was about supporting her as she took on new challenges, even if it meant taking a step back. Of course, sweetie, Emma replied softly, her voice steady. I'll always be here when you need me. But the truth was, Emma wasn't sure how ready she was for this new phase. Her daughter was moving into the world beyond her protective grasp, and Emma wasn't sure if she was ready to let go. The months leading up to Lily's 16th birthday were filled with subtle shifts. The moments of tension were small but noticeable. The moments when Emma would suggest something and Lily would brush it off. The times when Lily's conversations were shorter, more guarded, as if she was carrying secrets Emma wasn't part of anymore. It wasn't just the driving, it was everything. The way Lily now spent weekends with friends instead of family, the late nights she stayed up texting or chatting on social media, the increasingly private nature of her thoughts. It was like Emma was standing on the edge of a cliff, watching her daughter become more independent and hoping she wouldn't fall, but knowing she had to trust that Lily would figure it out on her own. But it wasn't always easy. One evening, Emma overheard a conversation between Lily and her friend Sarah, talking about something that made Emma's heart stop. I can't tell my mom that. She'd totally freak out. Lily's voice came from the hallway, muffled but clear. Emma froze, her pulse quickening. What was she hiding? She tried to push the fear away. It was probably nothing. Teenagers had a way of making mountains out of molehills. Still, the worry gnawed at Emma's gut. She wanted to intervene, to ask Lily what was going on, but she had learned that stepping into her daughter's world too much only pushed her further away. The next morning, Emma took a deep breath and decided to have an honest conversation. Lily, she said as they sat down for breakfast, I overheard a bit of your conversation last night. Is everything okay? You know you can always talk to me, right? Lily froze, then shrugged. Yeah, Mom. It's just stuff that you wouldn't understand. You know how it is. Emma's heart sank, but she kept her voice gentle. I understand more than you think, Lily. I just want to make sure you're okay. If something's bothering you, you can always come to me. I'll listen. Lily avoided her gaze, pushing her food around on her plate. I know, Mom. I'm fine. But Emma wasn't convinced. The distance between them was growing, and it was harder to bridge the gap. Lily was testing her boundaries, exploring her own identity, and while Emma knew this was normal, it was hard to accept that her role as the primary influence in Lily's life was slowly diminishing. As the months passed, Emma found herself faced with new challenges. Lily was becoming more independent, testing the limits of Emma's rules and expectations. There were nights when she stayed out later than Emma was comfortable with, and more than once, Emma found herself on edge, waiting for Lily to come home. But Emma knew she couldn't keep holding on too tightly. She had to trust Lily to make the right choices, even if it meant letting her make mistakes along the way. It was a hard balance, giving Lily enough freedom to grow while still offering guidance. One night, Emma waited up for Lily. It was 11:30 p.m., and Emma was sitting on the couch, trying to read but unable to focus. When the front door finally opened, Emma looked up, her stomach in knots. Hey, Mom, Lily said, her tone casual, almost too casual. She had a slight smile, but it didn't reach her eyes. Sorry I'm late. We just lost track of time at Sarah's house. Emma had heard the rumors, the ones that always seemed to swirl around high school, about parties, drinking, and the inevitable mistakes that came with growing up. She didn't want to be the overbearing mom, but she couldn't ignore the feeling that something was off. Where were you exactly? Emma asked, trying to keep her voice steady. Lily paused, and for a moment, Emma saw something in her daughter's face, something that made her heart ache. I was with Sarah. We were just hanging out. Emma knew better than to push too hard. I trust you, but you need to be honest with me, Lily. I'm just looking out for you. I know you're trying to navigate all this, and I just want to make sure you're staying safe. Lily sighed, rolling her eyes. I know, Mom. You don't have to keep reminding me. The conversation ended with a simple exchange of goodnights, but Emma lay awake for hours, wondering how much longer she could keep up the delicate dance between offering guidance and letting her daughter grow. One afternoon, Emma found herself sitting on the porch, reflecting on the whirlwind of the past few years. The relationship with Lily had changed, yes, but wasn't that the point? Lily was supposed to grow up, to develop her own sense of self. Emma realized that this was the true test of motherhood, letting go. She didn't have all the answers. She didn't know how to handle every situation with Lily, and she definitely didn't have the perfect solution to every teen problem. But Emma had learned one important thing. She could be there for Lily, not by controlling every aspect of her life, but by supporting her through the challenges. She didn't need to be her daughter's best friend, she needed to be her mother, and sometimes that meant stepping back and letting Lily figure things out on her own. When Lily came home later that day, Emma decided to take a different approach. Instead of pushing her daughter away with her worries, Emma simply said, "I love you, Lily. I'm here if you need anything." Lily paused, then smiled softly. "Thanks, Mom." And in that moment, Emma realized that they would be okay. This new phase, this new dynamic, though difficult, was a sign that they were moving forward together, in a way that was different, but still rooted in love and trust.
So, was Lily keeping secrets or just testing boundaries? What do you think really happened?